You have to be a CEO. You have to manage personalities. You have to manage people. I don't care about your scheme or your offensive mind. You have to manage people or you will not last as an NFL head coach. Bottom line.
Live from the Prop Swap Studios on AM 1490 Sports Betting Radio, it's The Fix with Ryan Rothstein. Presented by Prop Swap. Prop Swap that ticket and cash in while the odds have improved.
Rothstein was a hell of a handicapper. I can tell you that.
Right now! If you ain't ready for a fight, go ahead and go home. Because that's what this is going to be for 4 quarters. A fight! We always win when we fight together. That's how winning is done.
Now get out there and do it.
Pulls up, three-pointer. Bang! Bang! It's a game at the buzzer.
All right, so John McMullen just joined us for his nightly conversation. A lot to digest there, and I just want to give you my thoughts now and react a little bit to everything that we just heard and try and process it all. So let's start from the top. Josh McDaniels seems to be the guy, the next head coach for your Philadelphia Eagles. And John says the plan was never to fire Doug Peterson. Doug essentially went into that meeting down in sunny South Florida and died on a hill that he was willing to die on regarding who he wants as his coaching staff and the guys around him on his coaching staff, I should say. So if that's the case, and maybe this wasn't the plan all along, or it really took a turn late into Week 17. After Week 17, things change quickly, especially at the professional sports level. Okay, fine. All signs, to me, point to Deuce Staley. And John talks about who the guys in that locker room would be most willing to play for. All roads are going to lead to Deuce Staley. Now you bring in this guy, Josh McDaniels, who's an outside voice. He hasn't been around this team. He doesn't know these guys. And sure, that comes with the territory. I'm not saying you should never hire an external person. But for this situation, like, what does this team need right now the most? They need some excitement. They need a shot of adrenaline in the locker room. They need a guy that they're going to trust, they're going to listen to when he gets up and speaks, and they're going to play hard for. Is Josh McDaniels that guy? Well, his past has proven no. And listen, everyone deserves second and third chances. I am always for someone getting another chance. Always. Everyone makes mistakes. I'm going to make a mistake in the future. I'm going to need a second chance at some point. You out there, you're going to need a second chance at some point. One mistake shouldn't live with you your whole life. One failure shouldn't live with you your whole life. All right? So I'm all for it. But you have options. And maybe McDaniels deserves another chance somewhere. I just don't think it should be with the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's just become a free-for-all now of all of these young guys with zero prior head coaching experience getting shots. And that's awesome. That's great. I asked John, when did that process really change? When did it become to this extreme? And he points to Sean McVay. I would agree with that. But I think the most interesting takeaway that I need to react to is Jeffrey Lurie, because I've talked a lot about Jeffrey Lurie on this show. And I've talked about exactly what John just said. Growing up in this area, growing up a diehard Eagles fan, the Eagles organization, there it is again, has always been highly regarded as one of the elite organizations, the gold standard. If in 2004, if you had to rattle off the top 5 gold standard organizations in the National Football League, the Philadelphia Eagles were in that category. However you want to rank them, they were in that top tier of That's a model that we want to take and we want to try and duplicate it if you're on the outside of that looking in. What happened? What happened? And listen, with the benefit of hindsight, it's very easy to point to the firing of Andy Reid after that 4-12 season, after some average seasons. That, a lot of things took place where you say, all right, you know what, it's time for Andy to go. It seems like we peaked about 5 years ago, and he's not righting this ship. So at the time, in the middle of it, I understand it. But as the owner, as a front office executive, you're not supposed to be like us. I'm letting all of you guys off the hook, and I don't do this often. You can bitch and moan all you want. I can bitch and moan all I want. I ain't the owner. I ain't the general manager. I ain't the president of football operations, whatever it is. Being someone with that type of responsibility, making those type of high-level decisions, why not say, Andy's our guy, man? Andy's a Hall of Famer. All right, we can pluck 100 guys after we let go of Andy Reid, trying to find the next Andy, and we can go 0 for 100. Those guys can be really good football coaches. They're not going to be on the level of Andy Reid, and that's not even an indictment on those guys. That's just how good Andy Reid is. And for everyone out there saying, oh, well, he has Patrick Mahomes now. Duh, Ryan. Patrick Mahomes. Is Andy Reid even a good football coach? Dude, I've heard legitimate talk show hosts pose that question. And I've heard those same people talk about Matt LaFleur and how great of a job Matt LaFleur is doing for the Green Bay Packers. Well, based off your theory, dude, that bashes Andy Reid, you shouldn't be putting Matt LaFleur on a freaking pedestal either. It's a joke. Everyone's such a hypocrite. Yeah, no doy, you need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl in the National Football League. That doesn't mean you tear down the head coach that's coaching on the sideline of that team. It goes hand in hand. You need the right guy for the situation, and you need elite players to win the Super Bowl. I mean, anyone with a droplet in a bucket of common sense can figure that one out. So don't give me, oh, well, he has Patrick Mahomes now. You have to say it like that, too. He has Patrick Mahomes now. Let me see you go on the sideline and coach the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, come on. And like John said, again, yes, maybe Andy needed a fresh start. Maybe the Eagles needed a fresh start. Fine. But I think it's fair to question it, because now you look at the timeline since, and now here comes Chip Kelly. We want to go away from the Andy Reid tree. We want a completely new culture, young, innovative, high-pace offense. Look at what he did in college. And the guy was a knucklehead, a complete knucklehead. Congrats on the 10-win seasons. He was an idiot. He was no head coach. Like I say often, like John says often, I get my opinions a lot from football and NFL and Eagles talk from John, okay? I'll be the first to let you know that. You have to be a CEO. You have to manage personalities. You have to manage people. I don't care about your scheme or your offensive mind. You have to manage people, or you will not last as an NFL head coach, bottom line. Chip Kelly couldn't do that. So they got away from Andy Reid. They bring in Chip Kelly. That blew up in their faces. Now they say, well, you know what? Let's go back to that Andy Reid culture. Let's go back to that Andy Reid tree. You know what? Maybe that guy was on to something. They fall ass backwards into Doug Peterson. He was like their 8th option, their 8th safety net school if they're applying to colleges. They settle on Doug Peterson with a big sigh and, eye roll. And they fall into a Super Bowl win. They fall into a Vince Lombardi trophy. And now, like John just mentioned, Jeffrey Lurie's head gets even bigger. He can't walk through doors. Well, no one can walk through doors. You can't walk through doorways. And I brought this city the Super Bowl. I built this organization. I owned this team. I can do it again. And that's the ego that will bury you 6 feet under in any industry. Any industry, regardless of what you're doing. You have that type of ego in that type of position as an owner, as a leader of a company. Good luck, my friend. Good luck, my friend. And that's what the Eagles are dealing with right now. Jeffrey Lurie. And I'm not the first to say this. I won't be the last, but he is clear once again for the 100th time. Let the record be known that Jeffrey Lurie is the problem. So now here we are again trying to go away from the Andy Reid tree, and it's just going to be a Chip Kelly part 2. Gear up, Eagles fans. Gear up. We're taking a break. Much more still ahead.
January is finally here. And what's that mean for prop swappers? A huge profit on football tickets. Come list yours for sale today. PropSwap has thousands of buyers around the country waiting to pay big money for your bet. And remember, college basketball